here we go. We have made it to the final Santa Claus movie. I guess that's what they're called, Santa Claus the movie. So we are here with all the ho-ho-hos and all the merry crap for merry maniacs.
And we got Southern Comfort eggnog.
And of course I have the very best, Prairie Farms. I don't deal with those unknown names because you don't know what's in them.
Southern Comfort, which means it's, the alcohol, Southern Comfort.
How would I know that?
You start with a splash of Jägermeister, then add slow gin,
Got that.
triple sec,
Right.
quadruple sec,
Yeah.
gunk from a dog's eye, absolute pickle,
Pickle.
the red stripe from Aquafresh, and the funniest ingredient, the venom of the Louisiana lobotomoth. Come on, sweetie. You stir it with a home pregnancy test till it turns positive, and presto.
Southern Comfort.
Right now I'm drinking this, and I have a Jason cup to put in it because nothing says the holidays like Jason.
So we've got Southern Comfort eggnog, we got Prairie Farms eggnog, we've got our hats, we've got everything that's all merry maniacs, and then we have Martin Short.
It took me a while to put this movie in to even watch it. I actually watched almost all these movies over the weekend. This was a couple weeks ago. And we got to the third one. Even my wife's like, do we have to watch this? Yeah, we do. I mean, I have to review it. So we ended up watching this movie with Martin Short in it, who I am not a very big fan of at all, which is why I didn't want to watch this movie at all.
And I have never seen this film whatsoever. But I do remember it coming out. I remember Martin Short being in it. I think I've seen like small bits of it, and that's about it. If I saw anything of it, I've seen clips of it on the internet, or I've seen it on, whenever they show the holiday movies like 25 Days of Christmas or whatever, they'll show clips from the different holiday movies. So I've seen it like that, but I've never ever watched the movie. And
I seen a poster and I said, nope. That's all I saw.
You remember I said about the first one, when I saw the trailer for it, for the very first film, I thought it was the most generic looking holiday movie. It just looked really generic and didn't really look like something I wanted to rush out and go see. This was that times 10 when I saw the trailer for this.
Well, as soon as I heard they brought Jack Frost into it, I didn't know what the plot was. I figured he was evil, and somehow Tim Allen Santa Claus is going to have to fight him, like some sort of epic battle or something. But that was probably not going to be that epic because Martin Short. But I had no clue. I had no clue as to what this movie was even going to be about.
Well, I didn't have any clue about it because I just, I hadn't watched any of the other ones, so I didn't have any desire to see this one. And after seeing the trailer, like I said, I had even less of a desire to see it. So, and that's not because of Martin Short, it's just, it didn't look appealing to me. It didn't look like something I really wanted to rush out and go see.
If we hadn't done these reviews, I would have never watched this movie. So the plot of this one is obviously called the Escape Clause. And once again, we have all the people, all the fairies, and the Easter Bunny, and Sandman, and Mother Nature, and Father Time, and now we get introduced to Jack Frost.
Martin Short makes his appearance as Jack Frost in this film. We haven't done any of the extras for any of these films, but I actually did watch some of them, and I watched the extras on this one because they're really short. There's not too many of them, and they're really short. And this is like the only Blu-ray in the whole set that actually has an audio commentary. But I watched some of the making of where they're talking about how they made Jack Frost for this film, and I'll tell you what. Once you watch that, you understand why Jack Frost is the way he is in here. You understand why Martin Short did Jack Frost the way he did in here, because they actually had a different look and a different type of Jack Frost in the very beginning when they first filmed it. And they were filming it him in this total different costume. It was all like sparkly and flamboyant and everything, and he had like this, I don't know, like this cosplay blue hair, and it was just really strange. And they actually tried filming him. It was not working, so they changed everything. They were like, well, we have to change him. This is just not working.
Now, when I actually saw him in the movie, unlike the poster, you remember the old stop motion thing that had Jack Frost in it? It wasn't Rudolph. I think it was like somebody's New Year, baby's New Year or something.
I think you're talking about like what they had, the Heat Miser.
But when I actually saw him in the movie, he actually didn't look as bad as I thought he would. Because I thought he looked terrible on the poster. I thought it was just horrible the way he looked. But when you actually see him in the movie, he actually looks not as bad, I guess.
He actually, in this, I've seen Martin Short in his comedies and stuff, and I've seen him do actually some of his dramatic stuff. And I don't know, I've never really hated the guy, but I've never been a huge fan of Martin Short either. This actually fits him. I was actually pretty impressed by what he did in here.
Well, you know, I hate to say it too, but yeah, I think he actually pulled it off as Jack Frost in the film. And as being the first movie I loved, and the second movie was so weird I didn't think I was going to like it, but by the end of it, I really enjoyed it. And here comes the third one, and I thought I was going to hate this one. But once again, I ended up somewhat enjoying this movie, and I was surprised. It really surprised me that I liked the film. I mean, it wasn't like as good as the first two, but the plot was really good. Was that Martin Short, Jack Frost, wanted to become Santa Claus. He wanted to have all that power that Santa Claus has, so he came up with this thing called the Escape Clause to get, you know, him not to be Santa Claus anymore so he could take the role. I mean, I didn't know that was even the plot of the movie, but it was a pretty good plot for the film, I guess.
You need to spoil it for everybody.
Yeah, well, I mean, it happens early on in the film. It's not like the last 5 minutes of it.
Well, I think you could probably get the gist of it from the trailers and anything anyway, if you've ever... And I'm sure most people have seen this, or most people that weren't us.
And I like the fact that they finally got rid of that other elf in here. That I guess he must have been like, what, 45 years old when they finally made this one?
Yeah, and that's one of the things too, is like people don't realize how a fart.
No, yeah, I think people realize how much of a fart this movie is. Yes. Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think people realize how far apart is what I was trying to say. How far apart these films were actually made. Like, the first one was in like, what, 1999 or something? Or 2000 something?
It was like the very beginning of CG, and the CG in this one has improved. It's probably the best CG out of all three of them. It's actually really good. And the reindeers in this are great too. The reindeers have a lot of expressions, and they can move, and they talk like... I mean, it's like... I don't know what they sound. They sound like tauntauns.
Yeah, that's what you said in the second one too.
Yeah, they sound even worse in this one. I don't know what... they just could have just had them talk like, say, hey man, this movie's a fart.
Yeah, these films have been... they've been at least 3 or 4, 5 years apart from each other. So, and actually they do kind of say it in the film, in this movie, that it was like 12 years prior. Because they actually do this like kind of Back to the Future thing with it as well.
That's exactly what they do towards the end of the film. Is they do a Back to the Future thing, which again, I didn't mind. It was okay. I didn't mind going back to and revisiting the first film again. I thought it was pretty fun.
Yeah, I didn't mind that either. But the whole point I was trying to get at is that, okay, it went over all this point in time, and they remained with the same cast. All the same cast members kept coming back, except for Bernard, the main elf. He's the only one that didn't come back for this, which was kind of weird.
I guess he went on to do better things.
Maybe he escaped.
And the thing with this film is, I didn't mind it, really. I mean, it wasn't great, I don't think, but it was entertaining, and it was good to see what happened, you know, to wrap the whole thing up. And the first 5 seconds of the film, of course, you got a baby, because, you know, you always got to put a baby in a movie somewhere.
Yeah, as soon as they did that, I was like, ugh, I kind of groaned about that, because it was like, really? But then again, I guess that's the only other spot that could go, because they did, you know, they had, the first one was Santa Claus, the second one was the Mrs. Claus, so what, you know, we have to have Santa and Mrs. Claus have a kid.
Overall, I mean, I don't want to give any more of the plot away, but what they do there in the North Pole, I thought was pretty fun. It was pretty entertaining. And the plot was a little like the second film where, you know, Rubber Santa came in and took over the North Pole. It was sort of like that, and then he got pushed out and he had to come back and take over his identity again. So, I mean, it was kind of a rehash of the second film a little bit, but it was all right. I mean, it wasn't terrible.
Yeah, and I kind of feel the same way. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't as good as the first two. I think the thing that really bothered me in this was, you and I, with the other two reviews, we both mentioned, or you mentioned it, and then I agreed with you, was that it was always good to see Tim Allen go back into the real world and that have that human element. And that storyline is really what we liked about those first two films. And here it's kind of the same thing. He does go back again to the real world, but this time he takes the real world and brings it to the North Pole. And I think when he does that, it just kind of, it didn't make it as quite as human as it was originally.
So for the third and final, for now, Escape Clause, I'm really surprised they haven't made another one. Even though Tim Allen's getting up there in age, but if you put a beard on him and put makeup on him, you can't really tell anyway, I guess. But I would give this a merry 3 out of 5.
And I know this is probably going to shock everyone here, but I agree with David. This is a definite 3 out of 5. The special effects were better. They did improve on them. And even the CGI, it was a little better. I like the whole snow globe thing that they did in this too. So that was interesting and entertaining. Overall, it's a fun family film, and it's a fun holiday film, but nothing that really overly excited me.
Didn't jingle his bells, is what he's saying.
It didn't jingle my bells.
So there you go. There is our franchise of the Escape Santa Claus. I don't think have we ever done a franchise? I think we did do a franchise for Merry Maniacs. It was Angel, wasn't it?
I just put on some sexy clothes and high heels and went out and made a living.
Yeah?
So there you go. There is the Escape Clause, the Tim Allen 3-film Santa Claus movie that I'm glad I watched them for December. I think they were a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I second all of that. I mean, what else is there to say?
Angel, it's her choice, her chance, and her life.